Wow, wow, 6 weeks in already, and we are still enjoying this. Figure that. We would like to thank all of you for joining us again. We have an interesting series of topics for this week with the usual suspects around. So, here we go. Wait. Yeah? Okay, let's go. It has been well reported for years now that the Great Barrier Reef is suffering immensely under climate change and pollution. As one of the most important aquatic habitats in the world, it has been under a lot of observation for years. With notable bleaching events in the recent history and record water temperatures around the globe, it is no surprise that the reef is under a lot of pressure. Lonely Planet has a good article up about how much of the reef has been lost. Recent research conducted by the ARC Centre of Excellence for Coral Reef Studies in Queensland has concluded that 50% of small, medium and large coral has disappeared since the 1990s. For those of you who find this shocking, please read the article, which is of course linked down below, and go visit Netflix and go watch the documentary Chasing Coral. It's a documentary that really changed my life and view about the ocean. So let's move on. So from the Great Coral Reefs of Australia, we have some positive news in the region. Thanks to the eradication of COVID in New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand are setting up a travel bubble for one-way traffic between the two neighbouring nations, without the need of quarantine. Travellers from New Zealand can visit New South Wales and the Northern Territories without going into quarantine. However, travellers returning to New Zealand will have to go into quarantine. So there's some good travel news at all for our brothers and sisters in Upside Down Land. Okay, moving on. Now that we're on the news with our friends from Australia, we have to mention that according to the Positive Oceans Index, Australia is the best country in the world to protect their oceans, with New Zealand in second place, while third is shared between Canada and Malaysia. If you're curious where your country ranks, we'll have the link in the description down below, as usual, so see how good your nation is, and if you value it, vote, do whatever it takes to get that better. In another bit for some positive news, last week we reported on Indonesia signing the UNWTO Sustainable Tourism Convention. Today we are reporting that the UNWTO has signed a partnership agreement with Expedia to help drive tourism recovery. The two parties signed a memorandum of understanding that will see them collaborate on a multitude of fronts in a drive to help and fuel the recovery of the tourism sector. The UNWTO and Expedia will also work together to promote entrepreneurship and professional education on that news. The Breaking Travel News article down below goes in more in depth, so if you're interested in that, please go read it. So moving on, so last week we were sad to report that some beloved sports magazines were shutting down publication indefinitely. This week we have some positive news in that respect. That will probably save some magazines from shutdown in the short to medium term. As Newsnet reports that Pocket Outdoor Media is acquiring popular magazines Rock and Ice, Trail Runner and Gym Climber. Pocket Outdoor Media hopes to provide a better customer experience with these brands under its belt and hopes to innovate the medium and make them less dependent on advertisers only, because the medium has been in real decline, under real pressure, because most of the income comes from advertisers. So, well, good news, especially for those outdoor sports. In other news reported by S-Newsnets, the outdoor retailer, the outdoor industry's largest trade show, will be taking place virtually for the second time in its existence. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they had to do it virtually last year, and the upcoming edition will also be held virtually. Rather than mimic an in-person show, the new version will focus on the platform itself, making it available for longer periods of time so participants can look back at it more often, and it's being done over a larger period of time so more people can sign up and actually join in and partake in the virtual event. That's actually good news. That's something we should probably visit in the near future when we can again. So this next topic we come across while searching for interesting news tidbits around the weekend, and it reminded me of David Attenborough's Witness Statement documentary. It's a personal blog about a person's personal history with global warming. He tells a story about himself and a friend in their time in the Peace Corps on a small ski trip they took in Bolivia, and how he journeys back years later only to come to an astounding conclusion about climate change. The article gave me some shivers down my spine. The blog post gave me some shivers down my spine. So for those of you interested, look it up. It's a good read. Go watch David Attenborough's documentary, and that's also really important. Like I cannot stress it enough. Please do. My love for animals and nature has been well known to my family and friends, and that's why also I picked this specific news article. Lonely Planet has an article up featuring the Wildlife Photography of the Year competition. This year has yielded some amazing images showing the struggles between animals for survival, our own precarious relationship with nature, showing our own cruelty, animals battling amongst themselves but also nurturing and care. So I do want to spend some extra time on this article to show you some of the winners. So first up, and we'll show it full screen, the Showbiz Wildlife Photojournalism winner, showing a muzzled polar bear performing. So please take this in. Then we also will be showing a clownfish with a parasite peeping for the under 15 category. The aftermath of the battle between a riverine tiger beetle and an ant. And we're showing this picture of caged monkeys with one particularly sad looking and bleak. These are young monkeys. They may shock you, so there's a disclaimer. And if you want to see the rest, the link's down below, and go visit the website so you can look at these breathtaking pictures. Okay, well, let's continue. After these beautiful pictures and sometimes heart-wrenching images, it is time for some amazingly positive news. We are going back to the realm of sports, and in this case, Paralympics. Oksana Masters, the 8-time medal winner in 4 sports events, tells her story from a young girl in a Ukrainian orphanage to a celebrated athlete in not 1, not 2, but 4 different disciplines because of challenges that came her way, and she faced them head on. You go read her story and watch, and you just be amazed. Like, I'm just tripping my words because it's an amazing story, from her transitioning from a rower to a competitive rower to an Olympic cross skier. It's just an amazing read. Go read it. Who am I to explain it here? Just go read the article and listen to her. We're going back to travel now. In interesting news, air travel is well known for its pollution, and with air travel down, pollution has seen an amazing decline. A lot of airlines are looking at reducing their carbon footprint permanently and making the future of air travel more sustainably. So both Boeing and Airbus have been hard at work making their planes more fuel efficient over these last couple of years. In an article reported by Travel Daily News, we find that the SAS, the Scandinavian airline, has taken delivery of its first of 3 A321 long-range planes with their very efficient engines that can also handle sustainable fuel. According to their normal flights, they fly with up to 10% of sustainable fuel. The article doesn't state what sustainable fuel means, but it's apparently not made of normal kerosene. So, interesting. Look it up. Again, time for some more pretentious article. Just like we had last year, we found a flight sharing startup called Share Charter that is supposed to make life a bit easier on rich people. Now, they don't have to hire an entire plane, but they can share in with other rich people to save a buck and still get where they want to go in luxury. Like having a private concierge service, no TSA screening in the US, and custom food on board. The company also says that due to the pandemic, private flights are of course a lot safer because you can bypass thousands of plebeians. Okay, this was absolutely the most pretentious thing we've read all week again. Great. Shall we just skip these from now on? Like last week with the Amazon River tour for a more authentic experience. Wow. So this takes us to our last topic of the day, which is actually really interesting on a travel scale. Avioreps has developed a 3D events platform where you can meet in a virtual world for whatever purpose you might need. And they are deploying it for the travel and tourism industry, where companies can meet each other and partner up. So my take on this is probably, this is a very boringly written article. It's basically Second Life for tourism and travel industry, so you can have a more interactive feeling than just a text and a plain image. So this actually seems to be like a 3D platform where you interact with vendors in sort of a what you would call it, like a sort of literally a convention, but then online. So interesting, boring article, but the contents itself are fairly interesting. That was it for this week. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I hope you do. We actually still enjoy making them, else we would not have done it for a 6th time, and we're already looking forward to our 7th time. So that was it for this week. See you guys in the next one.